drive to right field. This ball is gone. Gone and into the history books.
The Seattle Mariners, Felix Hernandez, the 2-2. He got it! 34 years, 119 games. It's finally happened. A perfect game by a Seattle Mariner. It was done by the King.
And the 0-1 pitch on the way to Edgar Martinez. Swung on the line down the left field line for a base hit. Here comes Joy. Here is Junior to third base. They're going to wave him in. The throw to the plate will be late. The Mariners are going to play for the American League Championship. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my. And they are going crazy at the Kingdom.
Welcome to the Corner of Edgar and Dave, your Seattle Mariners baseball fan podcast. Back with Season 4, Episode 1, I believe Episode 50 overall. I'm Jacob, here with my brother Nick, and we are ready to talk Mariners baseball. You know what, Nick? You know what happened today? About 20 minutes before we started podcasting, my phone got a notification that I was charged for our podcast hosting site that we use, and I was like, fuck. Got a podcast.
Yep.
We gotta go.
That's why you're getting on my case.
Time is money, baby. Time is money. I don't know what to tell you. So we just gotta go. We got a pod. We gotta talk about it. It's also a factor. The season starts it's currently April 1st. April Fools. Yep. That's no joke. But the season starts in 7 days. We kind of thought we weren't even gonna have a season. So the fact that we even get to talk about a season is pretty awesome. Obviously. A lot of news happened outside of the season. It was a busy and not busy off season. Obviously there was the lockout with the labor dispute, worrying about signing the new CBA, collective bargaining agreement. That all got handled, and we are gonna have a baseball season. So there's something to talk about. Obviously a lot happened before that. A lot of signings happened. We shut down for a long time. They were saying, let's talk about baseball. Like, you're going to lose games. You're not going to do this. We're going to have a shortened season, blah, blah, blah. That's basically not happening. all the threats, all the deadlines missed. Absolute BS. We're playing baseball. We're playing a full 162, which means we're going to have a lot to talk about this season. And especially with the way last season ended, we might, in the first time in this podcast history, could be talking about a playoff-bound baseball team. Does that even seem possible? Feels possible.
You're getting a little ahead of yourself, but I like it.
I mean, this is what we're playing for, right? This is what we're competing for. It's either now or it's now, right? It's either
kind of, yeah. I mean, I think the Mariners will be based off of the what do you call it? The roadmap of the team, or the roadmap of the players' progression in the organization. I think that the Mariners will be competitive for the next at least 4, 5, 6 years if they continue to stay on track.
That's true. That's right. Especially with the development that we're seeing out of some of the minor leaguers, the future potential stars are starting to become and turn into future potential stars. So that's really good for us. Anyways, we got to talk about what this team is even going to look like, what's happened this entire offseason. But I think we got to start with, what we typically do, the worst and best things that we saw. And obviously there wasn't a lot of baseball, but you could pick pretty much anything. Worst and best things that you've seen. Off-season? Yeah, from the offseason. It doesn't even have to be baseball related. I mean, we didn't see any games. So we got to start with our normal worst and best things.
Worst thing I saw in the off season.
I feel like I hate to be a downer, but I feel like I saw a lot of worst things.
Are you speaking baseball perspective?
Baseball and regular. I mean, we they're on the verge of World War III. All these, we didn't end up signing any sort of middle infielders. Obviously. My Gonzaga Bulldogs.
We didn't get anybody.
Yeah, my Gonzaga Bulldogs got eliminated in the Sweet 16, the number one team in the country, the number one team in the tournament, didn't even make. They got eliminated in the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. I basically, went comatose for about like 36 hours after that happened. Didn't even like eat, think, drink. I basically just sat in my bed in a curled up ball and cried a lot, until I had no more tears. I went to Texas Roadhouse last night, and it did an absolute number on my stomach. I've been a mess.
To go. What are you doing?
I've been a mess all day.
Speaking of things doing doing a number on your body, I would say the worst thing that happened to me this off season was back on Monday when we were originally trying to pod. My buddies came over and we got unbelievably hammered. Like literally the next day, I was hungover until like 6 p.m. Just like way too far into the day for me to be still hungover.
Oh God, that's not good. That's not good. You know what, Nick? It's just age is catching up to you. You can't.
It is. I'm on the wrong side of 25.
Yeah, can't drink like you were when you were a young fish, a 21, 22-year-old.
No, I guess not.
So one day it just wakes up and it's just you had a little bit too much and you have that first hangover, right? And it doesn't go away after breakfast.
I wouldn't call it my first.
Well, I mean the first one that the first one that lingers, the first one that sticks around, the first one that really makes you feel it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyways, man, there's a lot of negativity. Best things that I saw. You got a best thing?
Best thing I saw in the off season, gotta be the Batman movie. Oh man, that movie's fucking fire.
That's a good pick.
I've literally seen it like 3 times, and I just can't get enough of it.
That's an absolutely great pick. Have you seen? I would put this up as another best movie that's already been out this early year so far. Have you seen X?
I have not, but I did. It does look pretty crazy.
I would say X is maybe my favorite horror movie I've seen in a while. Like maybe all the way since like Paranormal Activity or something like that. Like something that kind of really like engages with the genre and does something kind of like new while at the same time like paying homage to older stuff. Like X is awesome. After we saw it, I was kind of talking with Gabby and I was like, this movie's favorite movie is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And
I've actually never seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, really? Yeah, and X brings the old hits. It pays homage and respect to the horror movies that came before it and like the horror movies that it like clearly loves, but also it totally is interesting and brings something new and kind of like, you know what, honestly it really reminds me of it's not the same like hit you over the head meta discussion that Cabin in the Woods had, but it does kind of a lot of the same things where it's like it's very aware of the genre and very like aware of the tropes and engages with that in like kind of like a refreshing way. So I love it. That's definitely Batman's up there. I think X though is probably my favorite movie of the year so far.
That really surprises me considering I know how much you like the Batman, and I know that you like Marvel, and that new Spider-Man movie was pretty sick too.
Well, Spider-Man was last year. Spider-Man is technically last year, and honestly, like Spider-Man,
we're encompassing the off season here. We're not. Talking
that's true.
About
that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I enjoyed Spider-Man. I didn't have the love that most people had for Spider-Man.
Really?
I don't want to be a big downer.
You mean Spider-Man in general, or just that one movie?
That movie. I would actually say that's of the Tom Holland, Marvel, Sony Spider-Mans. I would actually say that the newest one is my least favorite of the 3, and that's because there's too many boring parts. It was too long. It was too long to start with, and because it was too long, there were parts that like really dragged, and I found myself kind of bored where I'm like sitting there. And I literally remember thinking for 1 second that I was taken so far out of the movie. And this is like, to me, like one of the worst things that a movie can do is that I became aware that I was bored while watching a movie. Like I was totally disengaged from what I was watching on screen. And I was just like,
I definitely didn't find myself being bored during that movie. What parts were sleeper?
The part that sticks out to me where I got really disengaged from the movie and like realized like I was very aware of like myself watching the movie was the scene where they were back at the apartment that Peter was like staying in and like working on all the devices to like fix the villains. That was the number one part where I found myself, I was like, why, what are we doing? Like, why am I watching this? Why? And I literally was questioning, like, why am I not enjoying this? Like, why am I so bored?
Yeah, that's weird. I definitely didn't find that unengaging or as unengaging as you did. I mean, it's not the most enticing part of the movie, but I felt pretty engaged the whole time.
Usually I'm pretty good about like not being taken out of the movie, and that was like one point where I was taken out of the movie. And yeah, I was conversely, Batman, similar runtime, if not a little bit longer.
No, Batman was way longer. Batman is probably like another 30 minutes longer than Spider-Man.
I think Spider-Man was like 2 hours and 45, and Batman was 2 hours and 55 or something like that.
Nah, Batman's like a 3 hour plus movie, dude. It's like I think it's 3 hours. And
I will say this: there was a point in Batman. There was a point in Batman that I did get taken out in a similar way, but it was in the sense that like I thought the movie was over, and then I realized there was a whole nother like final act basically that was coming.
Was this after they found the Riddler?
Yes, no, it was after they found him, and it was I literally thought the movie was going to be over. It was after
and the plot just keeps going.
After Carmine got shot, and after they're investigating, and Batman like pulls back the carpeting to reveal his like master plan or whatever. I was kind of like, oh, okay, so this is sick. This is going to be the ending of this movie, and then they're going to have a whole nother movie where it's kind of like, even though they've caught the Riddler, they've got to defeat his plan, basically, right? And it was like, no, they kind of just smushed the last little bit into like 40 minutes or whatever.
I'm happy that they resolved the Riddler issue in the Spider-Man or in the Batman movie, just because I don't like when movies are two parts for seemingly no reason. Like the big one for me is the Mockingjay movie. Why was that two? Also, like the Battle of the Five Armies, and why is that two movies, right?
Yeah.
So setting up the Riddler, finishing his scenario, and then having Batman completely learn something from it is way better to me.
I will say this. It was good in the sense that like it actually gave Batman some character development in the last, like, because he literally had zero in the first 90% of the movie. There was like zero character development.
I don't know if I agree with that. But I do think. Okay, you know what I think is really important about that Batman movie, and I've talked about this to a lot of people a lot of times. But in the beginning of the movie, he's not Batman. He may dress up as Batman. He may solve crimes. He may break people's arms for no reason, but he's not Batman. He is vengeance. So, like, the resolution of the movie is him realizing that he needs to be a positive symbol of hope for the city of Gotham instead of just being a symbol for vengeance. And so, like, the Riddler scenario and, like, the Riddler situation, like, sets him up and resolves him in a way that like moves him forward as a person and as a character and as like a symbol and like where Batman's going, right?
Right. I mean, I don't disagree entirely. I just think the movie was too long.
Yeah, I mean, I like it.
Here's the thing. I will say,
like noir style detective dramas, and that's exactly what that was, right?
I will say this though, is that like I wouldn't have had such a problem with the movie being as long if there was like actually like more detecting and like puzzle solving happening over the course of the movie. Like a lot of it was like all the puzzles were like solved off camera
in like
basically.
2 seconds.
Yeah, they were either solved really quickly or they were solved like off camera, like when he woke up in the morning and Alfred's like, "Hey, I've already solved the puzzle." It's like,
it's like, a cipher. Oh, you just.
I was like, how is this movie so long when we haven't even done any real detecting? And like the promise of this movie was like, oh, Batman, that mofo's gonna detect. You know, he's the world's greatest detective, and you're gonna see some detecting. And that didn't happen in its entirety.
I do really, really like the direction of the movie and like where it's
I'm
going,
excited to see more.
And everything, right?
I'm excited to see more. That's for sure. Is that I want to see
One
more
of
of
the
this
things
type of Gotham.
I might have talked to you about this before at some point, but I really don't like Catwoman that much, and I feel like she was way too in that movie, or she was in that movie way too much, right? But I do really like Commissioner Gordon and like the partnership between him and the Batman, and like the dynamic between the characters, and it reminds me of like the Batman and Robin style relationship, and it makes me interested to see what they do with Robin or Batgirl in the upcoming movies.
You think the future of this one is like how they're going to at least differentiate themselves from the Nolan ones? Is that they're going to add
100%.
Add a Robin or
with the director basically being like, "Oh yeah, we're doing Joker next." My guess for the second movie
is kind of gross.
It's going to involve Tim Drake, not Tim Drake. What's the Robin that dies? Tim Drake, not Tim Drake. No, it is Tim Drake. I don't know.
Well,
who are
all the Robins?
Yeah.
It's Tim Drake. It's Damian Wayne. It's Damian Wayne, and who's the oldest one? The oldest one that becomes Nightwing is
Damian Wayne's the clone. I thought that like assumes the Batman after.
No, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Damian Wayne Damian Wayne is the son of Batman and Catwoman that becomes the third Robin.
I'm looking it up.
Who are the Robins? This is just the world's worst Mariners podcast.
Jason Todd is the current Robin.
Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim. Yep. Oh, Dick Grayson's the first one. Jason Todd, Tim Drake.
Tim Drake. And then Dick Grayson's the one who becomes Nightwing.
Yeah, Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing.
Todd's the current one.
Jason Todd, isn't he the one that dies?
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Jason
Tim
Todd,
Drake,
the second incarnation of Robin, he dies. Yep.
Stephanie Brown, and then finally the biological son of Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle, Damian Wayne.
Third incarnation, Tim Drake.
Those are the
I thought Tim Drake was the current iteration of Robin.
I mean, maybe he's the current one, but there's been 5 Robins because they always do they've done their universe reset, right? Whereas 10 years ago or something, they did the New 52 universe reset, and maybe Tim Drake is then. But I know that I didn't know that there was one named Stephanie Brown, but I knew obviously Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and Damian Wayne.
It's hard to remember all their names. There's just so many, and they're all they kind of blend together. They're the same character.
They do all kind of blend together. Let's see. I'll do my best thing that I saw. Honestly, we've talked about this. I've been watching a lot of wrestling. I'm getting so into it, and I haven't seen it yet, but I already know it's the best thing I'm gonna see because I'm just so hyped. Is that WrestleMania is this weekend, and I gotta be honest. I don't think I've ever been more excited for a weekend in my entire life. I'm just literally from the moment we finish this podcast, I'm gonna start watching SmackDown. And then I'm going to, tomorrow morning, wake up at 10 a.m. to watch NXT Stand and Deliver. And then night 1 of WrestleMania. And then Sunday is going to be night 2 of WrestleMania. And then Monday is going to be the Raw after WrestleMania. I have never been more excited. I literally was thinking about it all day at work. And I'm not I'm not the type of person that gets really distracted at work and is super unproductive or whatever. But I literally I was sitting at work all day, ready to jump out of my freaking skin because I've been so excited for this weekend.
That's pretty funny. The only WrestleMania that I really like is I really like the Royal Rumbles, the male and the females. I think they're both the most entertaining event they do for WWE.
Yeah. No, Royal Rumble's great.
WrestleMania, or is that set up too?
No, that's a setup. So the Royal Rumble is usually in January, and it starts the road to WrestleMania because the 2 Royal Rumble winners get a main event at WrestleMania. So this year, Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey won. So Ronda Rousey is main eventing against Charlotte Flair on night 1 on Saturday, and Brock Lesnar is fighting Roman Reigns in a title unification match. Brock
Lesnar versus Roman Reigns again? Oh my god!
Yeah, but it's different though in the sense that they both have a title, and obviously Roman Reigns' 500+ day reign is on the line. Roman Reigns has been champion for 550 days basically. So there's the title unification aspect, and it's is Brock gonna end Roman's title reign as Universal Champion?
I feel like we've talked about this before, and I feel like this is a good time to talk about it again because there's been more time in between the last time we talked about it. How do you feel about Roman Reigns? Do you like him? I know a lot of people that watch wrestling really don't like him.
I love Roman Reigns, but here's the thing is that I've seen a lot of people though that really like this version of Roman Reigns, where it's like when he was a babyface and the big dog is that he wasn't
a good guy.
He wasn't really popular, but like, dude, his tribal chief persona, his gimmick now is just like so good. And I watch AEW too, so I watch a lot of freaking wrestling. Even for a while, I was watching Impact. And I tried to watch some New Japan Pro Wrestling, but like literally 4 promotions was too much for me. I ended up just having to cut back, and I just watch
I definitely
WWE.
like Roman a lot more as a villain. I think he's so much better as a villain.
Yeah, dude, to me it's the best gimmick in wrestling. Like Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the bloodline gimmick is just so good, and I can't wait to see. I honestly think Roman's gonna win, and I can't wait to see like how they go, because obviously he's gonna have to lose at some point. But the thing is that there's more juice to squeeze out of this bloodline thing, right? Like they could bring in, they could bring in more people. So obviously, the Usos' younger brother just started in NXT, so they could eventually bring him up and add him as like another layer to the bloodline. They could add like Jimmy Uso's wife, Naomi. She could potentially join the bloodline. I mean, obviously, there's like a feud with The Rock. They're pitching Roman Reigns versus The Rock essentially in like a head of the family battle.
I'm confused by that. Oh, interesting. Because they're in the family. They're both in the family. So why are they fighting each other? Is it because they like Roman's the evil guy and The Rock's the good guy?
Well, that's what it could be. Like the storyline they could essentially set up is like Roman's like gathered too much power. He has too much influence, and maybe some of it is undue. Like obviously he's dominating WWE, but should he have like full control of the family like he wants? Like he says, like I'm the head of the table. So like Rock could come in and basically be like, dude, you're mistreating everyone. You're just using the Usos. You're losing your mind. You're starting to crack. Like especially with this feud with Brock has kind of brought out of Roman Reigns like a new layer, is that he's sort of starting to crack a little bit, where he's been just like this unstoppable force.
As well.
Brock's babyface. Brock is literally so over as a babyface right now, because basically his gimmick right now is not like the Beast gimmick. It's like the country boy gimmick. Like he's like the good Canadian country boy that's like come in to stop Roman Reigns because no one else can. Basically, it's super over. It's super over. I cannot tell you, like Roman Reigns by himself. Brock Lesnar by himself without Paul Heyman doing all of his own stuff. Like he's so funny. He's so over. It's absolutely crazy. It's so good. All right. Anyways, though, we gotta talk about the Mariners. We spent the first 20 minutes of this podcast talking about movies and wrestling.
Well, it's been fun.
That's true.
We're getting through the content.
That's true. So we got to get into it. Okay, first thing I want to talk about, we obviously have our new segments. We're going to break this down. We also got to talk about the Mariners' moves that they made. But I think we just need to do like an overall summary of what happened in free agency, and then kind of give our like takes and input on that, and kind of like the effect it has. So first off, I kind of broke it down into like the important teams and what they did. So the big one for us, especially as in the AL West, is the Rangers. The Rangers basically decided at the same time as the Mariners, which is kind of annoying, that they're going to freaking go for it. And so what they did is they went and signed Corey Seager to a 10-year contract. They signed Marcus Semien to a 7-year contract, effectively locking up their middle infield for the next almost decade. They also signed John Gray to be. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be their ace. But John Gray's solid. Oh, what's wrong?
I gotta announce this next one.
Oh, got it. John Gray, a good, solid pitcher from the Colorado Rockies. That was a free agent. They signed him. Next, they signed Nick's guy. Go
Brad
for it.
Miller. What's up, Miller fan clubs back in the AL West? Let's go.
I'm excited to see Brad Miller. The thing is, too, is that obviously the Rangers have got rid of some stuff, so there's definitely like some real potential. Brad Miller sees a lot of playing time at like first base or something like that.
Yeah.
They also brought in Garrett Richards, another pitcher. He used to be with the Angels, right? So we've seen Garrett Richards before. They brought in Cole Calhoun, so that locks up their corner outfield position, because I think they got rid of Sin-Shu Chu. So that locks up. Garrett Cole's a solid lefty. That's going to lock up their like right field basically. And they also brought in Martin Perez, a solid utility guy. So the Rangers made a lot of moves. Obviously, the big one and the big splash, and this happened before the lockout. Was signing Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. Because obviously the talk of the Mariners going into
days too.
Yeah, the talk of the Mariners going into the winter was that we needed to sign a middle infielder and we needed to sign a pitcher. And
I mean, so if we deep dive into the Rangers situation for a little bit, before this offseason, I feel like both of us have talked about the Rangers organization as like a complete fucking failure and that they're just never going to be good within the next 10 years.
I mean, it was kind of a disaster because it's not really they didn't have a farm, right? Like if you look at, and this is going to be part of the story, is they went out and got all their business done in free agency. And they spent money. They have a lot of money locked up. If this doesn't work for the Rangers, not only are they screwed from a financial standpoint in the sense that they've got all of their money locked up, but they also still have a terrible farm. I mean, maybe you could like try and trade away some of these pieces to like rebuild your farm, kind of in like almost like a Mariners-esque way, right?
When you look at the situation and what they did in the offseason, what do you think the long-term goals of the organization is? Because from my perspective, how I see it, they're not getting rid of Corey Seager. No one's gonna keep that contract. They just have him for the next 10 years.
Here's the thing though.
But
if it's possible though, like we got rid of Robinson Cano. If you want to compare contracts, Robinson Cano signed a 10-year, $300 million contract with the Mariners, right?
We got a fucking steal to get rid of him. Like, and we had to package him with Edwin Diaz, right?
Well, I'm just saying, so it's not
one of the best relief seasons out of anybody ever.
My point was that it's like not impossible. Like obviously, what the Rangers' plan here is that they're
out of the remaining contract that we had for him. You know, we're still paying $20 million a year for Robinson Cano to not play for our team. And so if they want to get rid of these players for big name prospects, they are going to have to give up $30 million a year for Corey Seager. And they're going to have to give up like $25 million a year for Marcus Semien. And like, what is the fucking competitive window for this team? So either they're 100 million% better than we think they are in this next season or two, or this just doesn't work. And I gotta be honest with you, I don't think it works.
I think it's possible that it works. Especially because they do. It's not like they were absolutely barren talent-wise. Like they had some young, talented guys around them, and they've kind of filled the positions a little bit that they needed to fill. I don't think they're in as good of a position as we are, but I don't think they're in. I don't think this is like a disaster
of the Rangers. Or if you look at the like roadmap of the Rangers, or like the map of their lineup, why did they get rid of Joey Gallo? He's got 2 years remaining on his contract after last year. So this next year and the year after, he could still be on that team. What are they doing? So they immediately get rid of Joey Gallo, who's only getting paid like $6 million a year, to sign Corey Seager for $300 million and Marcus Semien for another 175. What are they doing? And like the only young prospect that they have to build around who's like been a success is Adolis Garcia, who is 29 years old and is in the second year of arbitration. So he only has 2 years as well.
Don't they also have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa?
Oh, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa? No, they traded him.
Oh.
Remember, they were like, it's his job to lose. And then they immediately traded him to the Twins. And then the Twins immediately traded him to the Yankees. So they do not have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
The only guy they have to build around is Adolis Garcia.
Wait, I'm just going to pull up...
The middle order of their lineup is going to be Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia, and Brad Miller.
Rangers?
What?
That's depressing. I googled Rangers roster, and the first link is for the hockey team. RIP.
Oh, yeah, they're terrible. This is not a competitive club. I don't understand it. And when you look at competitive major league rosters, you need to have at least 2 to 3 incredible starting pitchers, and they don't have that. Their best pitcher is John Gray. John Gray's pretty fucking good.
Let's see. Adolis Garcia. So their outfield's going to look like Willie Calhoun, Cole Calhoun.
Not very good.
And I like Willie Calhoun, Cole Calhoun, and Adolis Garcia. That's their outfield. Their infield right now, I'm just guessing. Like it looks like Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, I don't know 100% what positions all these guys
Brad
play.
Miller will probably be on first.
Brad Miller, and does Nick Solak play third?
Yes, that sounds correct to me.
Yeah, I don't really.
Oh yeah, Solak was supposed to be pretty good, but I feel like he kind of flopped in his first year. Yeah, I still don't see it.
Let's see.
I mean,
it's 2020.
Well,
he only had 22 at bats.
When you look at teams trying to turn the hump, and I know we did deep dive on the Rangers, there's just other teams. Like this isn't their window. But I mean, I guess if you like zoom out and try to look at the AL West as a division, when do they think their competitive opportunity is? It's got to be now that the
Andy
Astros are
Ibanez.
right?
He's their third baseman. Andy Ibanez. He's a career 300 hitter. So that's pretty solid. So that's who they have in. He's 28 years old. He's 28 years old out of Cuba. I mean, only 146 career at bats, but he's batting 300, and he's doing well in spring training so far. Yeah, I do think you're right in the sense of if you look at their pitching, like they obviously got John Gray. I'm a big John Gray fan. I've liked John Gray for a while, but the rest of that, Martin Perez. I'm thinking of a different guy. That's a pitcher. Martin Perez, Garrett Richards. I don't know. I just don't know a lot about these other guys. I don't remember. I mean, here's the thing. They weren't very good last year, right?
So what they lost 100 games.
It could hypothetically work, but probably not.
I mean, even if Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia, and Corey Seager combine for like 40 WAR,
depth chart. This is
they'll be like a 80 win ball club. They were terrible last year, and these additions are not gonna.
Okay, they have their rotation right now as John Gray, Martin Perez, Dane Dunning, Colby Allard, and John King. That's what they have it on the MLB website as their
Gotta be honest with you, that sounds pretty terrible.
Pitching rotation. I know. I just think it's just one of those things where it's just like, dude, I wish if like when the Mariners were making a run, I just wish that like these like some of the other teams would just like fold, right? Like why does every team in the AL West have to be gunning right now? That's the annoying part to me.
So the only organization that decided to take a step back is the Oakland A's, who granted have been good for like 6-7 years.
That's the thing is like I don't have any faith just because they didn't go into free agency. Like they literally signed like one person. Just because they didn't go into free agency, I don't like believe that the A's are going to be like I don't think they're going to be very good. But like again, they're a team that's like a threat. They're the ones that could cause us. Where in reality is like this is the situation.
Dude, I gotta tell you, the Oakland A's are terrible. They're like so they have two really good starting
pitchers. I'm just not convinced.
But they got rid of Matt Olson. They got rid of Matt Chapman.
That's true.
They didn't sign any. They didn't sign anybody.
They lost
They just didn't send a single dollar into free agency. They didn't even check in on anybody.
I mean, I like their pitching staff. Just looking at the top three: Sean Manaea, Frankie Montas.
Yeah, it's really good.
I mean, Cole Irvin, he's good, but we tore him up last year.
Didn't fish any of those guys off. Maybe their asking price was just way too much. I'm actually really surprised the Mariners didn't pick any of those guys up. But
look at the rest of it though. Like let's see, their catcher Sean Murphy, Eric Thames at first, Jed Lowry at second, Sheldon Nues at third. I've never heard of that guy. Elvis Andrus at shortstop, Chad Pinder at left field. He's good. Christian Patchy in center.
I think
Seth Brown. Is it Pache? It looks like Patchy to me.
Pache? Well, you never watched a Braves game? You don't know how to say Pache?
I'm not a Braves guy. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not a Braves guy.
Team, what are you doing?
Seth Brown in right field and Stephen Vogt is still playing? That's insane. Stephen Vogt is still playing right now? My God.
Yep.
My God, okay.
Yep.
Here's the thing, is that I don't think the A's, they're just never that bad. That's the problem I have, is that, and here's the overall thing.
I think the A's were just underrated for a really long time for like seemingly no reason. I think the core of the A's organization was so much better than anybody was giving them credit for like 5 years.
Here's the thing, I'm just never going to believe it. I'm never going to believe it until I see it. I'm never going to believe until I see it that the A's are truly gone. I hope they are. Here's the thing. I really hope they are. I hope the Rangers still suck. I hope that the Rangers pitching is so bad that they still sink. I hope that the A's are truly like dead and gone because the reality is like it's going to be a dogfight to try and win this division. And as good as the other teams in this division, the thing is that if you're in a division that's good top to bottom, it hurts your chances of making the wild card. I would consider, obviously, the perfect counterexample to this is the AL East last year, where they had four.
Same this year.
They had four really good teams.
They still have four really good teams.
Yeah, to me, though, that's kind of a fluke in the way it happened last year, whereas it's like generally when you have a division with four really good teams like that, they're going to like feast on each other. The thing with those teams is that they played really good outside of their division and outside of the conference, right? And so that kind of helped them all stay up and like heads and tails up the whole season. Whereas I'm scared that if our division is 4 teams or 5 teams deep, say it's just 4 teams deep, say the A's are truly dead, and it's 4 teams deep, like I don't want to be the team that's third place or second in the division, because even second in the division, like we were last year, doesn't guarantee you a playoff spot, because it's simply going to be, look at just what happened last year, right? I mean, obviously it's a slightly different story. I'm just worried. I just would prefer, we barely missed out last year when the Rangers weren't trying. Now if the Rangers are trying, and say the A's are sneaky good, like they're probably not playoff bound good, right? But say they're still kind of sneaky good, then we're going to have to deal with them. And is it possible that the Angels are still going to suck, like underperform for like the 3rd straight year? Because the Angels have been promising. The Angels have been promising for a few years. What are the chances that the Angels are still going to underperform for the 3rd straight year? Like, I'm scared of our division.
I think when you look at the additions that they made in the offseason, their main signing was Noah Syndergaard. And I just think when I look at the A's roster that like there's so much fucking top end talent on the A's that like they're probably, and this is gonna sound like a stretch, on their best day, they're the best team in the division.
I think that's entirely possible. That's another thing that scares me, is that we've honestly, what was the biggest benefit to us last year is that the Angels, despite probably being more talented than us, they underperformed all season, and injuries got them, right? They got hit by the injury bug, which thankfully didn't really happen to us last season, right? I'm not going to rely on the fact, especially if the Rangers are gunning, if the A's are solid like they always are, I'm not going to rely, you can't rely on the fact, again, that the Angels just historically underperform. I mean, as much as I dislike Joe Madden, they're well coached. They're going to be well coached. I can't disagree. I can't disagree with the fact that he's a good coach, right? They've added Noah Syndergaard, so they've added a legit ace, as long as he can stay healthy. They've added a legit ace. They've already had a legit ace in Shohei Ohtani, who's already tearing it up. He literally is just dominating spring training right now. It's so frustrating and disgusting. I hate it so much. As much as I love Shohei, I just absolutely hate it. In theory, Mike Trout's going to be healthy. Like, I mean, they have a good young farm system that they brought guys up on. If those guys perform, like, the Angels are a threat. I just, the only thing I'm kind of hoping for is that the Astros underperform. And they haven't really made a lot of moves. They lost Carlos Correa in the offseason. The only real move they made was to re-sign Justin Verlander to a deal. I don't even think he's going to be ready for the beginning of the season. I mean, that doesn't mean much in 162 games or whatever.
How good is Justin Verlander going to be?
Probably good.
Yes, he signed a 2-year, $50 million contract, and he is historically one of the best pitchers of the generation, right? But the dude hasn't pitched in 2 years.
I mean, he's just so reliable, though.
He played in 2019 and played in 0 games in 2020, and he's like 39 years old.
Here's the thing about Justin Verlander. Just like the A's, I will not believe that he is gone until he's actually gone. Until he actually stinks, I will not believe that he's gone. Because if I remember correctly, Justin Verlander's career, people have said it's going to be over like 3 times so far.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
He's literally won multiple World Series after the first time people said his career was going to be over. Like, he was washed up, right? Justin Verlander has been washed multiple times and still keeps coming back. Like, this is just like the A's. These guys are freaking. He's a zombie. I will not believe that he's actually dead. I'm not going to be like the loser at the end of the horror film who thinks that they've killed off all the bad guys just for that one final jump scare freeze frame in the final scene. I'm not going to fall for that. That's not going to be me. That's not going to be me. Until these guys are dead, until I see them dead, I will not believe.
He's not the angel's wonder that is Nelson Cruz, right? He has to be
Might
aging, right? And he's
You'd
a
think
pitcher.
so, but
like pitchers
until
just
I
go
see
through
it, I will not
more
believe
wear
it.
and tear than position players. It just cannot be that he's worth $25 million this year.
I think that's probably true.
I can't believe it. There's just
That's
no way.
probably true.
And especially, and like I've said, bro, this dude was fucking vacationing in Italy all last season. This dude wasn't throwing baseballs. What is he doing? What are the fucking Astros doing giving this guy $50 million? This blows my mind. This is one of the off-season free agencies that, like, I can't fully wrap my head around.
I think he's probably earned it.
You think so?
Yeah.
Do you think the Mariners
Legacy
should have given
contract?
Justin Verlander $25 million?
No, but we're in a different position. We're in a different position as an organization than the Astros are. The Astros are just like, the Astros are solid. They're the top of the system. They're the peak of baseball, basically, right? Their position is just essentially to maintain. You know, it's going to be tough for them losing someone like Carlos Correa and figuring out what to do. But I think
the Astros.
I don't think you just let. I don't think you let Justin Verlander walk.
I don't think that in 3 years the Astros will be the best team in the division.
I don't even think so either.
In 2 years they will.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that though. I'm just saying like their goal for this year is literally just to maintain, because like you said, they've hit their peak. They're probably on the tail end of their window, if you want to call it that, right? If you want to call it like a championship window.
Well, I think they're on a very clear way down the mountain. I think the peak is far gone. Like they lost George Springer 2 years ago. They lost Carlos Correa this year. Michael Brantley's getting up there.
I'm not convinced that the backside of this mountain is as steep as you seem to think it is. I think that they can hang on. I think that they can hang on, and they're going to be a mess. Like there's a reason they didn't give Justin Verlander 5 years, right? They gave him 2 years because they're like they can obviously see the writing on the wall, and they're like, we've got 2 more good cracks at this, right? Like it's pretty clear. Like they literally put down on a piece of paper what they think the remaining window is. They said we have 2 years, 2 more good cracks at this thing, and we're gonna try, right?
Okay. So as far as the Houston Astros, I don't have too much more I want to say about them. I will say with the remaining big contracts big players under their belt, they've got Jose Altuve. Who's on third base? What's his name? Alex Bregman. Justin Verlander. What's the guy in left? I can't remember his name. Michael Brantley.
I'm gonna pull up their depth chart right now. Let's see. Their depth chart is looking like.
Okay, the question to you.
Let's see. Martin Maldonado. Yuli Gurriel at first base. Jose Altuve.
Not that good. Come on.
Alex Bregman. Aldemus Diaz. Aledmus Diaz. Sure. Yeah. Michael Brantley. Jake Myers. Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker's a good one. And Yordan Alvarez at the designated hitter. Like they're still good.
Okay, so my question to you is:
still good.
in the next couple of years, with some of their large stars allegedly winding down, do they give like mega extensions to any of these guys, or do they let the majority of them go into free agency and just kind of start over?
Well, Altuve's already kind of locked up, right?
Yeah, Altuve's with it probably for the rest of his career.
I think you do. I mean, I think a couple of these guys, like Bregman, you do if they haven't already done that. Kyle Tucker, maybe.
They haven't, as far as I know.
Like, I think Kyle Tucker, like Lance McCullers, like you probably keep around like 5 of these guys and then try and like, I don't know what their farm system looks like as a thing, so I don't really know.
It's awful.
I don't really know completely how to address it.
They just released the 30 farm system ratings or whatever. The Astros farm system in the last 3 years dropped from like number 3 to 28. The Astros just have no future in the farm.
Well, the reality is that maybe that, I mean, they've obviously graduated a lot of guys to the majors, right? Like I said, maybe their window's 2 more years. Maybe they try for 2 more years, and then they start making trades to rebuild the farm system. Like these guys are still going to have value. People are still going to pay out the wazoo for Yuli Gurriel, for Kyle Tucker, for Alex Bregman, right? If they can extend him a little bit, I don't think they're in a bad spot. I mean, to me, I'm looking at this roster, and I was almost believing you that they were like on a steep downward hill off their peak.
Well, I mean, they're going to be good this year.
This team is. That's what I'm saying. Is like I'm only looking at this year, dude. I'm looking at 162 games in front of us right now, and this Astros team looks really freaking good.
I mean, like I'm looking at this year, but like I said, the Mariners will be good for probably what I think to be like 5 or 6 years. I think they'll just be a really competitive team in the AL West for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll give it to you that the decline looks a little bit more steep in the near future for the Astros, but this year they look absolutely loaded. I do not.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm not looking forward to playing this Astros team.
So I
just
think
like
the Mariners are really good. We haven't talked about the Mariners acquisitions at all.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Do we want to go over that really quickly before I just make my big statement for the Mariners season?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we ended up going out and making at least one big
really
splash.
Good offseason, by the way. Really, really good.
Oh, really? That if you were in a radar offseason, you're like at a B+, A- or higher?
I'm gonna go for the 10-point system because I don't know exactly where I'd do it with letters.
Okay,
I'm
that's
gonna
fine.
say the Mariners are probably at a 8 to 8.5 out of 10 for their offseason.
Okay, so for me, I was thinking like a 7 to like 6.5 to 7.
Interesting.
Only because they really missed out on that middle infielder, right? It's like they were set out with 2 goals. They were set out with 2 goals.
I totally understand that.
Well, I'm just saying, like, they were set out with 2 goals, both of them equally important, right? And you knocked one of them out of the park. I think the signing of Robbie Ray, 5 years, $150 million, we went out and we got the best pitcher available in free agency.
Yeah, really
on a good deal. Really I like this deal. 5 years, $115 million. I think this deal is awesome. Like, let's just compare it to a few other of the pitching deals. Let's see. Obviously, who am I looking at here? Kevin Gausman, 5 years, $110 million. Like, pretty close in money. I would rather have Robbie Ray 10 times out of 10 for $5 million more dollars.
I do think,
like, insane,
I do think you're missing out very bigly. On the so there's a player opt out on year 3. So like if he thinks he can make more money in year 3,
Robbie Ray. Well, that's okay. That's okay. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I'm just looking at like what this is, right?
We won't be on the team after the third.
I'm just thinking of other pitchers that were signed. Eduardo Rodriguez, 5 years, $77 million, leaving Boston to go to the Tigers.
Yep.
I like our Robbie Ray contract and Robbie Ray better than that. John Gray, I'm a big fan of John Gray, but I like, obviously, Robbie Ray's way better pitcher. Noah Syndergaard, I mean, he was never going to sign anything more than a 1 or 2 year deal. So 1 year with the Angels, like, I'm happier to have Robbie Ray for at least 3 years, right?
I'm so glad we didn't get Noah Syndergaard because he's like a crazy anti-vaxxer dude, and
oh really?
He's like a really big bully. And
even like who else was like available?
He's the biggest jackass ever.
Justin Verlander, we always talk about his contract. James Paxton went 1 year, $10 million to the Red Sox. Who else? Oh, Corey Kluber signed with Tampa Bay. I didn't put down his contract. Let's see. Oh, Max Scherzer, 3 years, $130 million to the Mets.
Oh, we could have got Scherzer.
Well, I like our deal better. 5 years, 115 for Robbie, over 3 years, 130 for Max Scherzer. I like Max Scherzer. Here's the thing. I like Max Scherzer. I like Max Scherzer, but I think that deal was absolutely insane. I think that deal was absolutely insane. Like, I love Max Scherzer. I think Max Scherzer is great. I would rather have Robbie Ray on the deal we got him, especially if we get hot. Like, you can say, like, Robbie Ray is like, oh, in 3 years, he might be able to opt out, blah, blah, blah. If the way things are going, Robbie Ray, especially if he wants rings, is going to want to stay. He's going to want to stay with the Mariners. And,
I mean, but, like, the opt-out is there for him to opt out and make more money. And I think no matter what happens at the end of the day, he will take it. So if he thinks he's worth $30 million a year, he will opt out and try to get $30 million. And
well, I'm fine with that too. Is that if we pay what we're supposed to pay, the 22 and a half or whatever, 22 and a half or whatever for the first 3 years, and then he wants to come back and he says, you know what, I need to be bumped up the last 2 years to $300 million. Like, he doesn't even necessarily have to be an opt out. I would expect Jerry Dipoto, if things are really cooking like we expect them to be, I would expect Jerry Dipoto to go to him and be like, yeah, we know that you have this option. Like, let's just settle this before it gets to that. Let's just boom, $30 million. Let's just make this straight, right? Let's make this right. You've done great the first 3 years. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's bump it up.
So as we've talked about a lot during this podcast, I do think that, and as you've said, the Mariners really missed out on anybody from the middle infield, from the huge middle infield class that went into free agency this year.
Right.
And the biggest names, as we talked about, the two that went to the Rangers, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien. You've got Carlos Correa, Javier Baez, Chris Bryant. I'd put in that group too. And
Yep.
Trevon Story.
Yeah, Trevon Story. You never heard of the guy? You ever heard of a typo in your life? There, I just fixed it for you. You happy?
And the ones that I really wanted the Mariners to take a really good run at the money with was Marcus Semien. Really wanted him, or Trevor Story, or Chris Bryant was like.
I would take it for me. So any of them basically is what you're saying. Great, thanks.
Well, I mean the ones I just ain't no way we were gonna get Corey, because Corey was always gonna go for a $30 million contract for like millions of years, and he got that exact contract right.
Right.
So there's no way we were gonna offer that contract to somebody. And I just don't want Carlos Correa on our team. Like, he's just the biggest fucking asshole with the whole cheating scandal, and I just don't want to root for the guy. Although he would 100% make our team a million times better by being on our team, I just don't want to have to root for him.
I'm seeing here on my notes, before we get right into the middle of infielder, what do you even think about comparing Robbie Ray's, the deal we did with Marcus Stroman to the Cubs? I really like Marcus Stroman.
Oh.
So him going to the Cubs 3 years, 71. Oh, so you were fine with like, okay, Marcus Stroman.
Yeah, dude, if our big acquisition this offseason was like maybe like Nick Castellanos and fucking Stroman, I would be so fucking mad.
I will say this too, the nice thing about the way it worked out with Robbie Ray is like Jerry got that shit done quick.
Yep.
And it was so nice to have that locked up.
That was
and
the very first thing that happened in the offseason.
It was so nice to have that locked up. We just didn't have to worry about anything. It's like, we've got our ace. I mean, I love Marco. I love Logan Gilbert. I love a lot of the guys that we have, right? Chris Flexen. But, like, we have our ace now. Robbie Ray's a stud. He's already been named opening day starter. Like, we're not messing around. That's the thing I appreciate, especially, like, the idea, like, naming him opening day starter, everything like that, the way they've kind of handled this offseason, aside from the debacle. I'm going to call it a debacle of the middle infielder situation.
Yep.
Is that we're just like acting with authority to some extent, or at least like confidence or like gusto, in the sense that we're just doing things. We're locking up, getting done. Sign Robbie Ray, boom, did that quick. Spring training, just shortly into spring training, boom, Robbie Ray, your opening day starter. Easy, done. Right? So I like the way that those things have done. You kind of mentioned it, and I kind of put this in to kind of look at our other kind of like threats, especially in the league, in terms of like, especially in the American League. The Blue Jays, they obviously signed the two big starting pitchers. They signed Kevin Gausman, as we talked about. They also brought in Yusei Kikuchi. Like, I know we've had our ups and downs with Yusei. Like, I respect Yusei that he went out there. He said he opted out of his contract and he went and got 3 years, $36 million.
That's way more than I thought he was going to get.
Yeah, right. And it's less than he would have made if he had stayed with the Mariners. But he potentially could have got cut or traded, whatever, right? But he got a long contract, and like Yusei is not a spring chicken. He's not the youngest, especially with all the time he's spent in Japan. Like, obviously his tenure in Major League Baseball is not that long, but like this 3 year, $36 million, like that's super solid for him. He's an all-star last year. Like, that's good. So the Blue Jays, obviously, I'm scared of that. I'm scared of those two signings, in particular because the Blue Jays' problem last year, right, is that their bats, their lineup was amazing, and they really struggled pitching-wise. And so they went out and got themselves, a really good starter, a really good ace, and then also supplemented it with who I would consider a solid back of the rotation guy, right, in Yusei Kikuchi. So that kind of scares me. I feel like the Blue Jays upgraded, and we obviously finished behind the Blue Jays last year.
Only by a game. Come on. Two games. That was just one.
Obviously, the Twins went out, signed Carlos Correa. Tigers went out, and like they made some splashes. I think the Tigers are thinking like they're gonna make a run for it too. They obviously signed Javier Baez for 6 years and Eduardo Rodriguez for 5 years. Like, the Tigers have been bad so long, they've been kind of like building up this next thing, and they like went and got those pieces to supplement that.
Safeco Field.
That's true.
Day one.
Obviously, Rockies are in the National League, but they got Chris Bryant on that big deal. I mean, the Mariners were in the running with Chris Bryant for a long time. That fell off at the end.
Really cool of the Rockies to pay Chris Bryant $180 million to not play on our team. Really fucking cool of them to do that.
I mean, definitely a dick move. I mean, the two big ones, the ones that I think hurt the most at the end, possibly because they happened at the end, they were like our last shots. Chris Bryant signing with the Rockies for no reason. Like, am I mistaken? Are the Rockies going to be good? Because I'm pretty sure the Rockies are going to be trash.
They're they're the shit can of the baseball world.
Respect to Chris Bryant for getting paid, but like, dude, like it's gonna be a dumpster fire for those 7 years.
It's literally it's like the Rockies watched the Rangers sign Corey Seager or Marcus Semien and were like, fucking hold my beer, let me see what I can do. But instead of actually like understanding the situation that their organization is in and like supplementing their team accordingly, they just decided to give Chris Bryant $200 million. What are they doing? I don't get it. I cannot comprehend what the fuck the Rockies are doing with this 7-year, $182 million contract.
Yeah, and I think the one that hurt the most for me, and maybe it was because of the last one, maybe because of the stories that came in around it, was the Trevor Story. He got 6 years, $140 million from the Red Sox. James Paxton also went there for 1 year, $10 million. So obviously the Red Sox made the postseason last year. Going to be a good team again. They've now upgraded at the shortstop position, and right, that's the story, right? Is that, and the problem with Trevor Story, I can't remember. I might be mixing up the positions in my head.
Shortstop.
Is that he wants to play shortstop,
yeah. And the Mariners didn't offer him enough to play somewhere else.
The Mariners wanted him to at least like split time, if not play third base, right? And part of that is because we're obviously locked up at shortstop. We have a shortstop. It's one of the best shortstops in the league. It's J.P. Crawford, and so we obviously wanted him to go to third base.
I really like J.P. Crawford, and I don't want anyone to think that I don't like him based off the statement. But if you look at the defensive metrics, Trevor Story is better at shortstop than him.
Defensive, really?
If one of them should move, it should probably be JP. That being said, I don't think Trevor would have been bad at third or second.
Yeah, so basically Trevor Story didn't want to leave shortstop. We are sticking with JP, which I'm fine with. I'm happy, and I don't want to mess with JP. JP's cooking.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't want to mess with JP, right?
I mean,
but this one did hurt. Yeah, this one did hurt just because like apparently we offered the same contract, essentially the 6 years, $140 million. The only difference to Trevor Story was where you were going to be playing in the field.
Well, but it doesn't make absolutely.
He chose the Red Sox
to go to the Red Sox because they still have Xander Bogaerts at shortstop, and Xander Bogaerts also wants to play shortstop.
Well,
so like
they're going to move him. They're going. Here's the thing: either they lied to Trevor Story. Either they lied to him and he's going to be playing third and second, or I bet you they didn't necessarily lie to Xander Bogaerts. They're just like, sorry, Xander, your grievances have been taken and noted. Now go play third.
But they have to put him on second because they have Rafael Devers on third.
Right. Okay, go play second.
They're moving Devers off third. But and I mean that middle middle infield for the Red Sox is fucking loaded. Holy shit, the Red Sox.
That's the frustrating part, is that not only did we lose out, we're the only team that didn't end up with a freaking middle infielder.
Dude, I know. And the Rangers got two. What are they doing?
The Rangers got two, and then we lost out on Trevor Story. Like, here's the thing. I think there's a good chance
we're going to get Brad Miller. What are we doing?
The reality is that the Red Sox are another team that we're going to be grinding with all season, fighting for a wild card spot, and like I hope it's going to suck if this is the difference, right? It's just going to suck, but I'm just going to have faith that someone's going to step up. And, whether it's going to be, obviously, Abraham Toro has had an absolutely stellar spring so far. Dylan Moore looks more like himself again this spring. So, like, maybe we can fill it. But I would have really liked to have Trevor Story. I just would have.
Okay, so Jerry DiPoto likes to trade. He is Mr. Wheel and Deal. He does run the fucking Wheelhouse podcast, right? When you look at the additions that the Mariners did make to the roster, they got Adam Frazier, all-star second baseman.
Yes, we can talk about the trades.
Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez. I do think those three players are on the level that any of those other free agents were on. So when you
Winker
look at
maybe,
the acquisitions
Winker
maybe.
I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that Adam Frazier and Suarez are at that level, especially with the last two seasons that Suarez has had.
Watch 162 games of these guys, and I mean, what, dude? Gino is so good. So Gino, while hitting only like 180 last year, still hit 31 missiles, and he still drove in like 85.
Okay,
that's
so
here's
the thing.
Year. There's
Is
literally no way he doesn't play better than that this year.
It's a thing so it is a Seager upgrade, right? Because he's gonna play third base. I will say this: it's a direct upgrade to what we got out of Seager last year. But we need someone who has more production. Like the problem with Kyle Seager is that we needed someone who was gonna hit more than 200. We just simply did, right? And so, like, I'm not upset about this. Like, I think it's going to work out. I have faith. I have faith in this. I have faith it's going to work out. I have faith that you're right, that was going to be Suarez's bottom, and that he's going to rebound from that, right? I have faith that that's the case. But, I mean, the reality is...
Okay. But what you're forgetting about is we also got Winker. Like, Suarez is the
I'm excited about Winker
in the trade.
I'm excited about Winker.
Is insane of a hitter.
Dude, I'm absolutely excited. That's why I said, is like, I feel comfortable. I don't know if I wouldn't put Winker currently on, like, the level of, like, getting a Chris Bryant, Trevor Story, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, but I'm super happy we have him. I mean, it's kind of weird because it just seems like our outfield is already slightly cluttered. But what I like about the Winker trade, he's a known commodity, right? And not every prospect works out. Not that I don't think that Julio or Jared Kelenic are not going to work out. I mean, Julio's looking like a sure thing right now. Like, as close to a sure thing as you can get, right? I mean, I literally saw an article. I literally saw a thing. Yeah, I literally saw a comment about him today that basically said, like Julio is a combination of Carlos Correa and Juan Soto. And I was like, inject that straight into my veins, baby. Let's go.
It is pretty funny that Mariners look to have like 6 really competitive outfielders, and the youngest one looks like he's the best.
Yeah, I mean he looks so good. So like he's the closest thing to like a sure thing we would probably have. I mean, obviously like
second coming of
Winker's going to be out there. I mean, we are going to have a DH position. The benefit of being in the American League is that these guys will
That's
play.
Actually not
right?
the benefit anymore. The NL is playing with the DH.
Oh, did they? Is that universal?
Yeah. Well, you didn't.
Good job, baseball.
What are you doing?
Good job, baseball. No, I didn't read the whole damn thing. Good job, baseball.
Cruz went to the Nationals, right? What are you talking about?
Oh, he did go to the Nationals. You're right. That's the only way that makes sense. Hell yeah. Do you know what? Baseball finally figured your shit out. What? We don't want pitchers hitting.
We literally never have to watch a pitcher break his arm batting ever again.
Let's go. This is amazing. You know what? You really made me happy. Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I mean,
obviously we've got the DH position. You know what? I knew it, but I guess I knew it because I knew about Nelson, but it didn't click in my head like that. You know. Mm-hmm. It's still gonna be weird. Like the first time that we go down to San Diego and we have a DH, I'm still gonna be like, well, this is kind of weird, but it's the right thing to do. You know what? Good. That's fixing America. That's step one. Right?
I know.
Universal DH.
Like San Diego, they will never have to watch Tatis fucking not be able to throw the ball to first base ever again. That'll never have to happen to them.
Facts, I guess. Well, I'm sure he's gonna have to play in the field at some point.
Well, not for the first 5 months of this year, or is it 4? He's out for a long time.
Oh, that's a good point. Oh shit, that's right. Did you also see today that DeGrom got hurt again and he's gonna miss at least the first month?
4 weeks. Yep.
Dude, poor Mets. Although like I don't really give a shit about him, but like also like I feel like it just happens to him every year, right? It happens to him every year. I wouldn't wish that upon my enemies.
It happens to them every year. As far as New York teams, I 100% prefer the Mets to the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like either of them though.
So I'm gonna be completely real with you. I think they have been reading the writing on the wall on I'm dropping on his name. Who are we just talking about?
DeGrom?
Yeah, DeGrom. So they've read the writing on the wall on DeGrom for like multiple years at this point, and that's probably the reason why they went and got Scherzer, because it's like, well,
I figured they just needed a Scherzer after losing a Syndergaard.
Syndergaard's been out for like 2 years.
I mean, he's pitched some. I'm just saying.
Syndergaard hasn't pitched in the same amount of time that Verlander hasn't pitched.
Why would you give him $21 million then?
Because the Angels are fucking desperate to get Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess other than that, like that pretty much sums up all the Mariners. So like what's your thoughts then? What's your thoughts, like final thoughts then? I mean, obviously you said you'd give us like an 8.5 on our postseason. I'm more like a 6.5 off season, yeah. 6.5 to 7. only because like I'm gonna have to see it before I believe it. Like I believe that they can figure it out, right? Between Dylan Moore, Toro, Suarez, and Adam Frazier, like I believe they can figure it out. But I'm also gonna need to see it because what?
Kellenick is another one.
Well, no, I'm talking about the infield. I'm just talking about the infield.
I'm going to be honest with you. I was a little higher on the Mariners. So I think the Mariners did everything. I did pretty much everything right this offseason, other than missing out on maybe
sign Trevor Story. Other than sign Trevor Story.
Or Trevor Story or whatever, right? But I think I'm higher on the Mariners last season than I am this season. I just think the AL West has become way more competitive.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's my worry, right? That was the first thing I started with. Is that's what I'm worried about.
Yep. And I don't think the Mariners. There's just so many players on the Mariners that are big old fucking question marks who we just do. They're not known commodities. They could either hit 100 or they could hit 500. We just have no idea. Jared Kelenic, Julio Rodriguez, Adam Frazier, Gino Suarez, Ty France isn't even a known commodity. JP Crawford, not a known commodity.
Yeah.
Realistically, the only hitters on the Mariners that are like known good hitters are Mitch Haniger and Jesse Winker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is scary for a team that's trying to make the playoffs.
I feel confident about JP.
Me too. I mean, I feel better than like.
I would say there's four guys. There's four guys I feel super confident about. I feel super confident about Mitch, JP, Ty France, and Winker.
I agree, but I do think there are big question marks surrounding Ty France and JP Crawford. JP Crawford, is what he did last year going to stick, or was that maybe the high end of his bat? And Ty France, where does he fit defensively in the long term on the Mariners, right?
Yeah.
And I think this year will give us a really good outlook on the future of the next playoff Mariner team.
I think that could be this year. I mean, it just depends. It's obviously the cards got to fall as they will, but like I think we mentioned it. We're scared of a super competitive AL West. I mean, it seems like the AL East is going to be just as strong as they were last year, if not stronger. Like obviously teams like that, Blue Jays and Red Sox, I would say made nice improvements. So I mean, it's scary. It's definitely it's nervous time in the sense that like. It's going to all happen in less than a week. It's April 1st right now. We're looking at, opening day is in 6 days. I think we're going to try and fit in another podcast before then, do our patented tier list, preseason tier list. We're going to take all the guys and,
we should
figure out where we think they are right now.
We should do like a top 10 power rankings for teams too.
You mean of all teams?
Last year.
I thought. Okay, I agree with that. Like the top 10 teams. Okay, I agree with that. We'll do that too. So like, I think we'll try and pod again before the season starts, or at least before that first weekend of the season, and give kind of our season outlook. Where we feel good about the guys, where we feel about teams. I thought what you said was like do like a top 10. Mariners players, and that would actually honestly be like a fun thing too, like every week to like put out our top our Mariner players power rankings.
I mean, what is this, season 3, season 4? We got time to we can change the formula. We're not a known commodity.
And we can evolve. We can grow.
We can do whatever we want. This is our show.
Yeah, we can grow and evolve and be something, improve every year, right? That's just what the Mariners are doing. It's just you got to focus on improving every single year.
So as far as the podcast, what's your goal for the podcast for the season? What do you want to happen?
I like talk about postseason baseball.
Nice. Okay. I'm gonna go with we're getting Kyle Seager on the show.
Dude, he's too busy. He's too busy hanging out in Disney World, man.
Chores at home, yeah.
Dude, he's taking his kids to Disney. You see that like the first day of practice. Julie Seeger posted.
Too busy to be on the show.
Yeah, Julie Seeger posted with them.
Edgar and Dave.
You work on that. If you know what? I'm ready to host it.
I'll head this Twitter.
I'm ready to host it if you can get them on there. If you can get some guests on, I'm ready to go. I'm roaring and ready to go. All right. Until then, though, that's going to do it for us today. We'll, be back hopefully before the season starts, and we're looking forward to a good season. This is, it's been the Corner of Edgar and Dave, first episode of season 4. I was actually kind of surprised when I hit the 4, and I was like, okay, we've got some, some time under our belt now. We've been doing this for a little bit.
We're veterans.
And
I don't think I swore once this podcast.
I did. That's on me. That's on me.
I was trying to get the streak going. What are you doing?
I think I dropped one early. I'm sorry. That's on me.
You think Kyle's gonna get on the show if we're fucking? Oh shit.
That's true. We gotta be good Christian boys. That's my bad.
Good southern growls and our nice way of speaking.
Yep. All right. We'll work. We'll be better next time. We'll work on that.
Yep.
Until then, we'll see you next time, and go M's.
Go M's.
There's a drive deep right field. Say goodbye. Hey Lloyd, do some delivery for the truck to the airport.